Well, I'll tell you what. We'll touch on Area 51 real quick in the
Yeah.
brush fires, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
So, let's revisit Monday a little bit. I know I was a little early. It wasn't Monkey Day, but I called in on Monday, and the reason why I called in is because I think it might be pertinent if you pull up Frederick and Fort Detrick and the cancer clusters that occur around Frederick, Maryland, specifically around Fort Detrick. There's been a lot of nasty cancers. And actually, along Shookstown Road around Frederick, I believe it was roughly 10 years ago, a remediation project took place because the United States military was burying all kinds of nasty shit out in that farmland that they owned, but was out along people's well water lines.
Of course it was. Of course it was. On purpose or by accident? What do you think?
Well, the government kind of does what the government wants to do. I mean, I can go back to stories in D.C. where they're finding live ordnance that are buried in Southeast because at one point in time there was a military base that was there where they tested ordnance, I believe during World War I, something along those lines. But there's still communities in D.C. where they dig up live ordnance. The military just kind of dumps stuff, buries it. Fort Ritchie is another prime example, right? So Fort Ritchie was closed down during the Clinton administration. There's a beautiful lake there, and if you actually read up on the history of Fort Ritchie, that lake actually has the largest southern freshwater ice pond or lake in the United States that provided ice to the South, pretty much, back in the olden days. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They used to call the rednecks down from the mountains. When the pond or the lake froze over, they cut out ice and they chip it down south for their drinks, right?
Yep.
Nowadays, that's only a catch and release lake because the United States military has dumped so much nasty stuff in there. And as a matter of fact, they have a difficult problem or time actually selling that property since the Clinton administration, because every time they open up a hole there, they find more nasty stuff. You know what I mean?
The lake glows.
It doesn't glow, but I definitely would not eat anything that came out of there, personally.
Yeah, you're reminding me of when I was in East Palestine after that train wreck. Everyone was telling me about, I think it was a lake an hour or so north of there that sometimes just catches fire because there's so much crap in it, and just the water just burns.
Yeah, so in Pennsylvania, I can't remember the name of the town, but it's actually I believe it's an old coal mining town, if I'm not mistaken. I just read about it in firefighting books and magazines and stuff. I think it's Centrilla, Pennsylvania. That's just coming at the top of my head. But anyway, I believe the entire underground portion of that town is on fire, and the residents actually had to flee because it's still on fire.
Great.
The coal mine's caught on fire underground.
Wow. So it's just a continual fire.
Yeah.
Great.
But East Palestine is a beast all in itself. I'm not a hazmat guru, but what happened in East Palestine is kind of crazy, if you ask me. But
oh, it's very crazy. They didn't have to blow that thing up. They could have done lots of other things. They could have buried it, but they chose to blow it up, and it destroyed the atmosphere.
Yes, agreed. And what goes up must come down. And a lot of people don't understand that. So I'm not going to get too far into chemistry when it comes to fire, right? But smoke is a byproduct of incomplete combustion. Okay. So if you see smoke rising from a flame, that means whatever is on fire is not completely combusting, therefore is being released into the atmosphere in some way, shape, or form, right?
Yep.
Now you tell me what kind of clouds were coming out East Palestine after they lit all that on fire.
That's what I'm saying. This is one type of fake cloud. This stuff infects the cloud. It's like when you talk about Fukushima or the atomic bombs, or the forever chemicals that go up into the clouds. This is what I'm talking about. That doesn't go away. When I was talking about the weird chemical dust that settled over our cars and ground in West Virginia a few weeks after East Palestine, I mean, that's where it's coming from. So, like thinking about Area 51 burning should be a little concerning to people.
Yeah, I don't disagree, man. I mean, and and I will play a little devil's advocate here, right?
Yeah,
so we've seen a lot of wildland fires, especially throughout these wilderness areas in the Midwest, on the West Coast, right?
Yep.
And I can tell you that, and again, not because I never served in the military, I don't know anything necessarily about the military, but it is not uncommon for the military to set firing ranges on fire because of the ordnance that they set off, right?
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of scrub brush, there's a lot of stuff that's not maintained. So, it all could be coincidental, but again, what I will say is that when something is on fire around a military installation, you should really pay attention to it.
What do you think's going on there? Like, so the official story is that on July 4th, lightning struck, created a 40,000 acre wildfire that was getting close to Area 51. I think they have it 50% contained now. What was your thoughts on all that?
I mean, hey, look, man, that's plausible. You know what I'm saying? And so is an errant firework. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could name it. You could label it 1,000 different things, and nobody would know the difference because it's a restricted military base.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I don't know. I don't trust the government as far as I can throw them. And I showed up 3 different times, and I'm a pretty big dude, clearly. So I don't trust the government. You know what I mean? I've seen behind the curtain enough to know that, like, they're rather shady individuals. So
a little bit.
It's concerning and it's alarming, and I 100% think that people need to pay attention. And I think that it would be important. So there are individuals out there that monitor the air. Just dudes that think it's a really cool thing to just monitor air quality, right? As a hobby. Right. I really think that maybe we need to start building networks of like-minded individuals who are actually double checking what the government is telling us.
That's a great idea.
I just think that, hey, listen, man, this country was not built upon listening to what our organized government told us we needed to do. Yep. Right. And I think we've lost our way, man. And I'm not saying that, I necessarily believe that the United States government is inherently bad. I mean, I do, but for the sake of argument, right? There's nothing wrong with having safeguards and people double checking what's going on. And we have the ability as just the citizenry of this country to be able to do so. Like, we need to check our government, man.
100%. I totally agree with you. And I also agree with the idea of the fires could just be natural when it comes to Area 51. The thing that I think is worrisome is what those fires could be burning, right? And how that will affect everyone else around that area and who knows how far. I don't know if you heard us talk about those burn pits. There was I remember some people were reaching out saying they didn't believe that story because I forget how they put it, but it was like, you don't use diesel for something. I don't remember the full story, but the guy said he got sick from being around burn pits that were burning chemicals at Area 51. We happened to read that like a week before the news story with these guys and this invisible enemy. So maybe it was just a natural fire.
Well, the thing is they say if you really want it to burn, use diesel.
Is that what they said? Yeah.
So diesel burns hotter than anything else. It has a higher ignition point, but when it comes to fire, so gasoline, all right, so, man, I'm trying not to get too deep into the weeds, right? So when you ignite a flammable liquid, it's the vapors coming off of it, right? The ignition point of gasoline is much lower than what it is of diesel fuel, but diesel fuel burns, it burns more complete. The fuel itself does not, but the fire itself is more intense. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So does that mean that if they use diesel, it makes Does it make it worse?
It's a little more suspicious than dumping gas on it and lighting it on fire.
Well,
like you really want it to burn.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. So for instance, okay, so let's say I came out to Tim Cass Media Group and I was going to teach you guys how to use fire extinguishers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when I set up a burn barrel, I'm not going to use gasoline. I'm going to use diesel fuel because diesel fuel is going to burn longer and it's going to give me a better burn. Right.
Okay.
The gasoline is going to give you a flash fire. It's going to be quick, fast, boom, and then the fire's out. If what is on fire isn't capable, man, I don't know. I'm trying to explain this.
You're doing good.
The gasoline is going to provide you with a quick flash fire. Diesel fuel is going to burn longer and more sustained. So therefore, it's like when you're teaching class, right? You're not going to dump gasoline on the fire because even though I hit it with a fire extinguisher, if I use gasoline, it's probably going to go out. If I'm using diesel fuel, I can hit it with a fire extinguisher 4 or 5 times through 4 or 5 different students, and the fire will rekindle itself. It'll reignite itself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It seems a little more dangerous.
Yeah.
If you're not if you don't know what you're doing.
Correct. I mean, yes and no. Yes. I view gasoline as more dangerous because it's not as stable. But
okay.
But beyond that, you know what I mean? Like it is alarming. I'm not trying to detract from what you're saying because you're 100% right. Again, anytime that the government is burning stuff or stuff is burning around a government facility, it's something everybody should pay attention to.
Can you remind people maybe one of the instances where you showed up to Detrick and it was weird?
Yeah, so I mean, there's only been one big fire that I was at Detrick that was kind of like, oh, okay, cool. And so this was at I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was the National Cancer Research Association or whatever, institute, whatever. There's a whole lot of government organizations, specifically scientific type organizations, biological organizations that are housed on Fort Detrick. NIDIA, Fauci's baby is there. The Cancer Research Center is there. And then Detrick, the military itself, has all kinds of nasty shit there. My personal experience, one that I can attest to because I was there myself, was the Cancer Research Center. They were doing roofing on it at the time. They set the building on fire. It went to like 5 or 6 alarms. But, you know, nobody, at least me personally, didn't expect to walk in and see biohazard symbols on doors with rodents and rabbits and things like that. And it was very clearly expressed to us that we should not enter those rooms, right? I don't know why. You know what I mean? I was an Indian, bro, not a chief, you know, so I can't necessarily attest to why.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that through lore and through, I mean, dudes that I learned how to be a fireman from, I heard many different stories about Detrick, specifically the 8 Ball building. And that was the building in which this was back in the 70s that burnt to the ground. At the direction of the military, there was a fire that started. It was one of their high-level laboratory buildings where they had all kinds of nasty stuff. And the decision was made to pull everybody out, go defensive, allow it to burn to the ground, because the risk was much less to the greater community than extinguishing the fire and having an accidental release.
Crazy conversations to be having. Why do they even put these places near people?
Yeah, right?
There's a lot of people over there in Frederick. You know, I want to look up that stuff you were saying earlier about just the cancer surgery.
I actually did.
Did you bring it up, Brandon?
I've got it here.
That's scary.
Here's the thing. Hard to trust, obviously, always. But this is the official report from the Maryland Department of Health and Mental Hygiene in Frederick County. This is dated October 3rd, 2011. Now, the testing and the surveys and whatnot that they did took place between 1992 and 2008. The investigation was prompted by community concerns about cancer incidents in Frederick County, particularly in the area around Fort Detrick. The analysis consisted of blah, 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 cancer here, cancer there, basically is what they're saying. And at the end of it, they go over all the investigation did not find a consistent pattern of cancer diagnoses that would suggest clustering. Specifically, the investigation showed the following, and here's, more bullet points about what they found, but basically it all says, the increase in cancer rates for all cancers noted between 2001 and 2006 is unlikely to be related to environmental exposures in the Fort Detrick area. So they're basically saying you got cancer on your own.
Yep. That's their official story, and they're sticking to it.
And that's the official story of the Maryland
So,
Department
Brandon, if you look, you might want to check through the Frederick News Post. Look for remediation efforts along Shookstown Road, and Fort Detrick will be involved in that. That's Fort Detrick property. They actually put all kinds of tents up over top, just open field, where they were excavating because they had found a bunch of 55-gallon drums that had been buried out there with all kinds of nasty stuff.
Man, you're reminding me of growing up along the Hudson River in New York, and when they realized we had what are those chemicals in the rivers? Not PCP. I forget what
PCBs.
PCBs, yeah.
Like
PCP would have been really crazy. That was more near the Bronx, the PCP.
Hey, no, bro, I just swam in that river.
Man.
Yo, they decided in like 2006 maybe that they're going to drag the waters to get rid of it. And I always thought that sounds insane because aren't you just going to like spread it more if you're doing that?
So, it depends on whether or not it's heavier than water. It depends on what its specific gravity is. If it's heavier than water, then like oil, it'll rise to the top. You'll be able to skim it off the top.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Makes it a little easier to catch.
Correct. Yeah.
I hope that was the case.
Go ahead.
I said I hope that was the case because the Hudson River used to be clear, and I never knew the Hudson River to be clear.
Yeah, well, the Potomac River, you actually used to have fish that you could eat out of it, but nowadays I wouldn't trust
That's
that.
Insane. That's insane that we've done that to these places. It's so sad.
Now, what's crazy is I've looked this up, and everything that I'm seeing on this basically just says that it's going to be closed, but it doesn't say why. Everything is very, very short.
Remediation story he's talking about?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's basically saying the same thing. Section of Shookstown Road in Frederick will be closed while improvements are made to the road.
We'll look into that.
And apparently it was closed down for about 6 months.
I'll dig myself and I'll actually send it to you so you guys can see it. There's actually pictures and again, it could have been scrubbed. I mean, the DOD does wild things, you know what I mean? But 100%, there was tents. There was an access road. It was right off of Shookstown Road. So the county yard for fire apparatus and the sheriff's office and actually communications used to be right off Shookstown Road. The property that I'm speaking of was to the southwest of county yard off Shookstown Road, in Montague Lane. It would be right at the intersection of Montague and Shookstown Road. But regardless, I'm digging in the weeds on that. More so, what I wanted to call you about, and I don't know if you saw this or not, but you want to talk about demons and goblins in the government. Recently I had tagged you about a week ago about an officer named James Dotson. He's a corporal with Frederick City Police Department. I actually know this man personally. Okay. I wish I didn't. But Corporal Dodson has just recently been indicted on charges for the child stuff.
I did see this. Yeah. This is insane.
And so the most recent article that I put out or that I tagged you in actually is from Levi Trumbull, who's a local independent reporter here in Frederick. Levi has been in touch with whistleblowers from the Frederick City Police that said not only did Corporal Dodson have a very intimate relationship with the chief of police in Frederick, that they spent a lot of time together, and that he was actually accused of SA against one of the chief's male friends. Now, I'll let you guess what type of persuasion the chief is, whether he likes men or women. And I'll let you guess whether or not he's been marching in pride parades through downtown Frederick.
Oh, man.
And
kind of answers the first one a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Maybe I set you up for it. What I'm getting at is, man, there's a lot of stuff that's taking place in our local government, not just in the federal government, man. And maybe I should have prefaced all this with saying, I'll keep this YouTube friendly. I'm all for feet first rides at my amusement park of wood chippers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know. Like I always say, I have a hard time wanting to take a life, but especially given the government the ability to do it. But I have, when it comes to this thing, this crime, these people need to be removed from society.
Yeah, man. I know there was a guy, I don't remember what gentleman was. He's a frequent caller as well. And he talked about he doesn't know about evil and blah, blah, blah. Bro, I've looked at pure evil in the eye, man.
Yeah.
And I've looked at individuals who have harmed children to an extent that it just, I couldn't even do it service trying to discuss it over this, right? And what I can tell you is that I'm a firm believer in the fact that evil, matter of fact, does exist in society, that people are born inherently evil, because I can't reconcile that a man of any type of faith would be able to harm such an innocent victim. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's people who pretend to be of the faith,
And I don't mean specifically of religious faith. I just mean of any faith beyond themselves.
Right.
Like beyond them believing that they are the end all be all. Like, and I think that's just inherently evil, man. And it really disgusts me because I spent a lot of time in this community, and I'm not a great dude, man. I'm not a hero. Look, I was a backstep, knuckle dragging, shit talking fireman, bro. And it hasn't changed, except I'm just a whole lot more beat up than I used to be, right? It disgusts me that a place is just as beautiful as what Frederick used to be, has been so inundated with this disgustingness, man.
I totally agree. And unfortunately, it's not unique to Frederick. It's everywhere.
It's not, man. It's not. And it's like you feel it, man. I feel it here. I feel it.
It's such a shame. It's kind of like the human version of what we were just talking about with polluting everything. Destroying the rivers, burying chemicals, burning stuff we shouldn't be burning. That to the same degree, the evil has also populated the areas, and I can think of a number of stories about people who are hired to keep their community safe are the very monsters preying upon the innocent, and it's disgusting. Yes, sir.
Yep. And there's a special place for those kind of cats, man. Man, I really would like to be able to say that I'm strong enough in my faith to believe that they'll make it there on their own, but I sure as hell would enjoy helping them on along the way. You know what I mean? So.
Yep, I know, dude. It is an evil world out there, and we are just navigating it and pushing back against it and doing the best we can. But always good to hear from you, man. I appreciate all the insights to everything we discussed, especially I was thinking about you when we were talking about Area 51 on Monday. So I love hearing that perspective, and we'll talk again.
Absolutely, gentlemen. You guys have a great time. Appreciate the show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Tony.